circle, most places when you have a class, they talk in the beginning and then they have an activity. That's not our teachings. Our teachings is to dance first or have your activity first and then you talk. They say that our words are sweeter when we talk at the end. And the reason why is because when you sweat and everything, you release toxins, you release stress. Things aren't as important after you're exhausted. I'm exhausted. I still have to go teach parents math tonight though, but I'm exhausted. I just want to thank the young girls for offering that. Like I said, today is their first time that they're dancing in public. And for them, it's a nightmare. For us old people, it's just what we do. But for the young kids, you know, being in front of all you people, as good as you might look, is horrifying. So I want to thank them for offering that dance. In that dance, our dances are actually lessons. So if you look at that dance, you'll see what we call the cambios, or the changes, or they call them flores. What happens is you see the dancer kick the ground and stomp their foot. A lot of people think, since we say we're doing the corn dance, that we must be praying to the corn god. And that's because the Spaniards didn't understand our language. So everything we had that had the word teot on it, they called it God. But actually our dances are understanding physics and the nature around us and understanding how it applies to our life. So in that dance, you kick the ground and you stomp it. So you're reaping the soil, you're tilling the soil, and you're sowing your seed. You're planting the seed. And then what happens is you see them squat to the ground. A lot of them cannot squat and cannot spread their wings all the way out. And what that is that you're learning to plant your roots deep inside your Mother Earth. And that's a reflection of the relationship and the nurturing that you should be getting from your mother that is vital. So you notice it's difficult, as young as they are, to bend down, okay? As it is difficult to have a child-parent relationship. So the kids are really taught, as difficult as that is, you have to obtain the strength to do that. Plant your roots and spread them deep within your Mother Earth. Grow your plant up to your Father Sky. And we know that those two elements which create the process of photosynthesis, we know because of that we bear fruit. So those science were not unknown to us, we knew that. But instead of like talking about it and calling it a name, we showed it in the dance. So plant your roots, grow your cornstalk to your Father Son. What happens after that is, to raise a child is a lot of processes, right? You can't just have a good parent, good soil, you know, some good sun rays and photosynthesis. What you need is something else. And we all know on the top of the corn, that little hair has pollen in it. Very sacred to a lot of tribes, that very fine dust that's in the top. But what has to happen is the wind has to come. So you'll see the dancers go like this. The wind comes, and what the wind does is it's blowing that pollen around. So there's a lot of things that are important to the growth and the maturity of all of our fruit, of all of our children, of all of our abundance. And that fertilization, that process is very, very important. Then what happens is that we reap our harvest. So you'll notice if they're an experienced dancer, their foot is all the way crooked. They're not very experienced, it's kind of flat. But what that is that's the corn kernel sizzling in the oil, and then all of a sudden you see pop, pop, pop. So what happens is we have popcorn. Yeah, we used to kick it with popcorn. Yeah, you guys think you got that one too? Nah. You wouldn't know that most of what you're eating is actually all of our old food. So we used to have the popcorn. And then after the popcorn, you see them, what they're trying to do is get to the ground with the machete and cut it down. But a lot of them can't do that, so they keep trying to go like this, and I tell them, you can't cut a corn stalk down like this. You have to take a blade and go this way. So that dance, even though it's the relationship of the corn to the earth, it is the relationship of us to our parents, to the earth, to our surroundings, to the harmony of the jobs in our environment in order to go forth and be strong. So with that, I really want to thank the young girls for taking that journey and being brave and being out here, even though they're scared to death and they didn't know that they could do it, they were here. I just want to talk a little bit about, you can't very see him. I was scrambling because it was just been an emotional time to find a picture, but there's a little young man in a red graduation gown down there. That's our past relative, Felix. When he graduated from high school, the month he graduated from high school, he was diagnosed with cancer. And then he died at the age of 23. But even from the hospital and everything, he would leave and tell the doctor, I got to go to the high school, I got to help plan graduation. By the time he was 23, he had already raised $23,000 for the Children's Cancer Unit right here at Children's Hospital. 23 years old, had raised, and with cancer, raised $23,000. So even though he had a short life, every piece of that life was dedicated to helping somebody have a special event, to have money. He would go in and sit with the kids. Even though he was going through chemo, he did some miraculous things. So we want to think about him as we currently have a lot of our relatives right now suffering with cancer, and also with it being Cancer Breast Awareness Month, we want to think of all of those relatives that have gone on. Up in the top corner is our young man Salvador. He died when he was 10th grader, I believe. He was shot. And with that, we want to think of him. We want to think of Christian, who passed away in this community. Alejandro, who passed away over there in Oakland with the murals. All those young people that are out there doing things, and then they get caught in the nightmare, you know, of our current civilization. So we just want to pray for that. We're going to offer this last dance. This last dance is Huitzilopochtli. It's the hummingbird dance. So you'll notice there's a lot of fluttering in that dance. And sometimes we call that the dance of the ancient, and that hummingbird kind of helps those spirits kind of travel on. So we're going to offer that as our last dance. And with that, we'll say goodbye to my brother Chewy, who you see up here, and who's also represented on our drum. And my mother, who you see below, who also passed on right there.